Random House Audio presents Miracles Every Day, the story of one physician's inspiring faith and the healing power of prayer, by MAURA POSTON Zagrans, read for you by Kathe Mazur. Where there is great love, there are always miracles. Kathe. Author's Note: This is a book about faith, prayer, and the power of love. It is also the true story of a man who has fused these elements into his daily life, a physician whose maxim really is miracles every day. Issam Nemeh, M.D., has pursued a lifelong calling to demonstrate the healing power of love, and the story of his submission to a cause greater than himself is inspiring. People tend to look at Dr. Nemeh from slightly different viewpoints. Some see in his career proof that one man can make a difference in the world. Others say he gave them hope against all odds. Some say he saved their lives, while others say he saved their souls. What is it about this humble, limelight-averse person that arouses such passion? I first met Dr. Nemeh and his wife Kathe, who plays an integral role in Dr. Nemeh's ministry, in a French pastry and catering shop owned by our mutual friend Charlene Callow on Christmas Eve 2006. We shook hands and spoke for a few minutes, an exchange that remains vivid in my mind because the impressions conveyed to me were extraordinary. Kathe was warmth and liveliness. The doctor was compassion and gentleness. I never dreamed I would soon be writing a book about them. I knew almost nothing about the Nemehs. Charlene had once mentioned something to me about their being involved in a gathering of 10,000 people, but as she reminisced about the day, I stared at her uncomprehendingly. I really didn't know what she was talking about. The husband of one of my dearest friends was a patient of Dr. Nemeh's, and he had talked about the doctor with reverence and love. Other than those two tiny connections, I was a blank slate. I never saw televised broadcasts about Dr. Nemeh because 25 years earlier I had traded television watching time for quality time to read and be with my children. Healing services, falling in the spirit, and being prayed over were completely foreign to me. When I began working on the book, I may have been disadvantaged by a steep learning curve, but what I had going for me was an objective, unbiased perspective. I logged thousands of hours of interview and observation time, and eventually came to the conclusion that Dr. Nemeh's story should be told, because it is authentic. I also came to understand why people feel so strongly about him, and how it is he fulfills so many different functions for the people whose lives he has touched. This book, then, is about life journeys, his and theirs. Dr. Nemeh insists God is the only healer, but he never imposes his beliefs on anyone. Just as a rose is a rose by any other name, so too is a miracle, whether attributed to God or to love. The important point is that when Dr. Nemeh prays over a person, the connection that occurs oftentimes initiates a change that leads to happiness and healing on many levels. Every story related in this book is true and unembellished. Because it is not possible within the scope of one book to compile all the miracles associated with Dr. Nemeh's career, each account was selected as a representative of a type of patient or a kind of healing. A few names have been changed to protect people's privacy. In May 2007, I attended a retreat at which Kathe Nemeh, during her remarks at the podium, told a charming story of calling her husband over to where she was jotting ideas for her speech on index cards. "Issam," she asked, "who are you? We've been married 25 years, and you're still an enigma to me." Issam turned on his heel, walked into another room, and returned carrying a painting of Jesus' Palm Sunday procession. He answered with a question of his own. "If you could be anyone in this picture, who would you be?" When she didn't comprehend his point, he explained, "I would want to be the one who is closest to Jesus, the one who is patiently carrying Jesus to the people, the donkey. Dr. Nemeh sees himself as one who serves. The humility with which he has answered his calling stands as a reminder that we, too, can honor God by serving one another. Part 1. The Day of the 10,000. Chapter 1. A Vision Fulfilled. 10,000 people came seeking not just a miracle. They came in search of their miracle. On March 13, 2005, they came to Garfield Heights, Ohio, to St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church by private ambulance, in motorized lift vans, and in sedans displaying handicapped hang tags. They came alone, and they came with families. They walked with their heads held high, and they hobbled through the parking lot on crutches. They stood in Disney World-long lines that snaked across a network of sidewalks crisscrossing the parish campus. They came looking for hope. They came looking for healing. At 21 degrees and with a piercing wind blowing, many would later recall the desperation of the day wrapped in a memory of brittle cold. Constructed in the 1950s, the Romanesque church seats 800 beneath her graceful arches and towering columns. Painted murals and stained glass windows depict St. Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus and the primacy of St. Peter, among other images. As caretakers pushed loved ones up the aisles, some in wheelchairs, some on hospital gurneys, hymns were being played by the pipe organist in the loft above. Canes, crutches, and walkers could be seen throughout the dense gathering, hard evidence of injuries, disease, or just the physical deterioration of old age. In the pews, bald children pressed close to their parents. People entered the church filled with a mixture of faith and skepticism, trust and fear, acceptance and anger. They braved the frigid weather and then waited many hours inside, lured by a glimmer of hope that they might be released from the pain in their bodies and the suffering in their questioning souls. They came because they had heard that Dr. Issam Nemeh would lay his hands on each one of them, one person at a time, and say a prayer that each would be healed. For Dr. Nemeh, this day was the culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. Over the course of 2 decades, he had laid the foundation for this moment by working as an anesthesiologist who sat beside his recovering patients in hushed hospital rooms, and then as an acupuncture practitioner in private practice. When Issam was 15 years old, he had a vision that he would share his gift of faith with thousands. But first, he would have to form a solid base for this ministry with a medical practice. Dr. Nemeh was a physician licensed by the State Medical Board of Ohio, with specialties in anesthesiology and general surgery, but switched mid-career to the practice of meridian regulatory acupuncture. He says he made the career change in response to a message from God that said this new practice would give him time to work with people one-on-one. Indeed, patients have reported treatment sessions lasting 1, 2, and sometimes even 3 hours. Many patients came to the doctor in a last-ditch effort, after having been told by mainstream medicine there was nothing more that could be done to alleviate their pain, treat their cancer, heal their handicaps, or save their lives. All the while the doctor was bent over his patients, administering acupuncture, he prayed. Many patients received dramatic healings. Tumors disappeared. Multiple sclerosis melted away. Vision returned to the blind, and hearing to the deaf. Migraines vanished. Clinical depression was lifted. Nerves were regenerated. Learning disabilities vaporized. People relegated to wheelchairs stood and walked for the first time in years. Through the years, when patients were restored to health after medical science had said cures were impossible, they wanted to share their stories with the media. Dr. Nemeh redirected them. He requested that they spread the word only to the sick and suffering.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?